we just, as of today, actually, at the time of this taping, we just finished our 5th season with our 99th episode, and the return of our mutual friend of the show, Justin Hampton.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you knew this. I don't know if you, but I have been a fan of Justin's unintentionally since I was about 7 years old. Um, because when I was a kid, he designed a handful of cards in the Magic the Gathering Ice Age 2 set. And that's the set that I played when I was a kid. And I loved the Twitch comics. And I had no idea it was him. And only later, when I started going to shows, did I realize, like, oh my God, like, I, whoa. And he was the first person who, when I reached out to him and said, hey, let's promote this Kickstarter for this book, he was the first person that I was truly like, wow. He said, yeah, like that's wild. Like this is somebody I've admired forever. And one of so much of his great artwork has come from work for Queens of the Stone Age. And the band and the artists achieved a milestone. The
I think
closest,
that's another part of the success of the Songs for the Deaf, because we came out with a poster for every concert. The people at P&E collaborated with us, and that was huge. That was also part of like putting ourselves on the map. We've got a quality audio, visual, quality everything. We had a complete package to give the audience, and
and
the P&E folks were a big part of that.
what's really wild is that from what I understand, and I've tried to do as much research on this as possible, the closest that a band had come prior to the 2002-2003 Queens of the Stone Age tour with a print for every gig was Pearl Jam in 2000. From what I understand, they are the ones who came the closest. Now, when I talked to Justin, and I would love to get your input on this, he kind of talked a little bit more about how he and Jermaine and Emick, worked the process amongst themselves. I'm more curious to ask you, how did the relationship begin with Justin and with Jermaine and Emick, and obviously, post Neo Explosionism and what that became. But where did that meeting start? Was that part of the Seattle move?
I think that was part of the Seattle connection. Yeah, when Josh went to school up in Seattle, he also ended up joining a band called the Screaming Trees. And so I think, there's just a big looping in there. And
Josh was
then,
in the Screaming Trees?
yeah. And that's when he called me up to Seattle. I became Screaming Trees engineer. And then when the Trees disbanded, Mark Lanigan came down and joined us with the Queens.
And how could I forget that connection? Yes. Yeah.
And then back to the
Yeah.
poster guys, they took the Q logo that I made, and they incorporated it into every poster they made. So there was a tie-in with the album artwork always in their artwork. They had total freedom to do whatever they wanted, but they always tied in our album artwork with their work. So that was all part of a great master plan.
What was the impetus for having a poster at every show? Was it part of the theme of the album of being on the
Mm,
road?
No, to say that I was there. Like people always go, I was at that gig. Well, no, you weren't. There was only 10 people there, but you went home with something that proved you were there.
Hmm. Now we currently are in. I mean, there is a poster art economy. We've had many wonderful artists on the show. How does it feel looking back to kind of have been not just at the forefront, but like the formation of that movement?
I think it kind of goes back to the idea of your shows. Is there's just a lot of people involved in this business, and I think it's yeah, there's a lot of people involved, and the poster artists have become an important part of it.
What was the initial reaction to some of the early poster designs? How was this like a band decision, or like I think you mentioned that you just kind of let them have free, but did you see
Yeah,
proofs
definitely.
beforehand?
Josh and I always joke that you can't go wrong with putting a naked woman or a skull driving a hot rod. You know, can't go wrong with that. It'll always sell to somebody. But those guys took it so much further. Obviously, you know.
And folks, if you haven't checked out those posters, please do. They're a trip and a half. I mean, they're really uh
Yeah,
they're they're
Emmett did
really
some crazy
something.
ones. He did a Twister game, like the spinner. You know, the old '60s game Twister. He printed his posters on some really cool materials like X-ray paper and just
Jermaine did one that I recall of just like Jermaine's done a few. Jermaine did one when I saw them at the Aragon Ballroom. I was fortunate enough that he did that show.